Today, I'm showing you an S&P 500 setup that should be on your radar next week, and I'll show you exactly why and how I'm trading it. So my name is Justin Bennett, full-time trader since 2011. As always, all of this is my opinion only and not financial advice. So looking at the S&P 500 here, we're going to start on the 4-hour time frame today because I want to show you how this market lately has just been mostly sideways. So if we go back here, if you had told me you're shorting the market back here in this area, I would have said you're a little bit crazy because of this uptrend that we had. Now, since December, though, you can see where the S&P 500 really has been just range bound. Okay, so in my opinion, longs and shorts here are fair game. Now, on the surface, you could look at this on the 4-hour and say that this market has been just really choppy and messy, and why would you trade it? And the reason I would trade it is in terms of SMC, this market right now has been ideal because what we're doing here, and you can see this on the 1-hour time frame, especially if we go in here, what you can see is over the past few weeks, okay, what the market has done is basically given you displacement lower. Okay, so we formed this imbalance back here. We came up, we mitigated this. We mitigated this area back here on this move right here. Okay, we also formed another area of displacement back here, imbalance. We came back and we mitigated this again. So you can see where the market is doing this over and over again. In fact, this up here was actually a short entry that I announced in real time in our Discord group with VIP members. And I made a video on this yesterday as well. So if you guys do want to gain access to that and also get the free SMC course where I show you my strategy on this, then check out the link here on the screen. If you don't see it here, check out the description of this video or the pinned comment below. All right, so basically all the market's doing over and over again, it's doing the exact same thing. Displacement up, we have the market consolidating up here, moving lower, mitigating this area back here. Once again, displacement lower. Look what we did over here. We came up and mitigated this. So we're doing the same exact same thing over and over again. So if you spot this pattern, all you have to do is wait for the market to mitigate these areas and then watch for a lower time frame confirmation. Now on the surface, that sounds very easy. Okay, it's simple, but it's not easy. And the reason it's not easy is because you have to wait. You have to have patience and you have to have rules in place to wait, because right now this week, what we're getting here from the S&P 500 is just a bunch of chop. This is not what you want to trade. Right now, traders are just getting chopped up here, okay? And if you're one of them, then part of the reason for that is that you have to wait for the market to mitigate areas like this. So notice how last week we got the same thing. The market went sideways up here. Now, this area back here was also another imbalance that we saw mitigated through here. So in Discord, I also told members that this area is what I wanted to see when the market was way back here, okay? Now, unfortunately, I did not get this short. I told a member I was looking for this area up here to look for a short. Last week was way too choppy though. So same thing here, right? All of this through here is not what you want to trade. And you can see that right now, following this pattern that we've seen lately, right? These very aggressive moves, this displacement here, and these imbalances forming, these inefficient auctions, and the market essentially just comes back to mitigate or retest that area every single time. So it's glaringly obvious right now when you look at the S&P 500 in terms of at least what I'm looking for next week, right? Now, this is not financial advice. This is just what I'm doing here. But you can see that this area back here, okay, is a massive area of an imbalance. We have inefficient auction back here, right? This huge move lower, very aggressive move lower, where you had essentially sellers just taking control back here. And so this is what we call an inefficient auction. Now, markets will tend to revisit areas like this or mitigate areas like this to come back here and fully facilitate a clean auction, okay? So essentially you have a lot of resting liquidity up here as well. Think about it like this. If you're a seller up here and you're trying to get in, you're probably not going to be able to. So market makers know that. They know that there's resting liquidity up here. And again, furthermore, when you get an inefficient auction right like this, markets will often move back to those areas to facilitate a clean, efficient auction, okay? So that's all I'm looking for right now for the S&P 500. So if we mark this out, let's go ahead and do this here first. So if we look at this range here, now I want to show you something too, actually, before we do that. Looking at the 4-hour time frame, guys, this is a range. However, what you'll notice here recently is that up here off of this high right here, we did have a close above. Now it was very slight, but this still counts as a BOS within this uptrend, okay? So we have our BOS there. It means that if we take this point over here, okay, and this point over here and find the lowest point, it's this one down here. Now the reason that matters is because if we then take from this low over here, drag it across, did we close below? Yes, we did. This right here is a change of character. Okay, so even though we are sideways and even though back here we were in an uptrend, right now we are seeing some cracks forming here for the S&P 500, okay? So this is important to understand because it could potentially dictate what we get here over the coming weeks and months. However, like I said before, right now, this is a range bound market. So in my opinion, it makes a lot of sense to trade it as such. Okay, so knowing that we have this right back here, let's go ahead and look at this internal range that we have recently. And the internal range I'm referring to is that if this up here is our high, this is our low, all of this through here is just internal, okay? But that still matters for me when I'm trading SMC, because one of my rules is that I cannot short if we are in discount. So from this high up here, down here to the low, right? Very simple. Everything above the 50% is going to be considered premium. And this up here is where I want to short. I cannot short down here. So this simple rule alone, if you were looking at this and you were trying to short this market, this would have kept you out of shorting the S&P 500, because you would know that anything below this area, right, in this red area, is a no-go for a short. You cannot short down here because you are essentially shorting low within this internal range, and that's not what you want to do. Okay, now another thing here too is notice where the optimal trade entry comes in. This dark green area is the area between the 62%, okay, and 79% retracement. So this up here is my ideal area to look for shorts. Now, when this lines up with an obvious imbalance, that's when I really start to pay attention. Now, let's go back to the hourly time frame. Notice how back here, look at this candle, look at this hourly candle. Okay, this right here has not been mitigated at all. Okay, this is a huge void in the market right now, and look where OTE lines up. Okay, now let's be clear here. There's also going to be, if you look at the 4-hour time frame, okay, if we come back here and take a look at this, you can see that off of this low, there is also a 4-hour or 4-hour FEG extreme up here. This is the extreme boundary of the 4-hour FEG up here just above OTE. So I want to be clear that OTE, this does not mean that I'm shorting through here. This does not mean that I'm just blindly shorting this area. What this means is that when this lines up with an imbalance like this, it gives me more confidence that the market is likely to come back here and mitigate this. Okay, it also means that the moment that we come into this area, if we come into this area, right, that I'm looking for shorts. Now, what does that mean, looking for shorts? Let's go back here. I'll show you an example of this trade that I took here recently. I'm going to turn on bar replay just to keep it nice and clean. But if we come back here, what you'll notice is that, and this is a great example too, notice that our imbalance was right here. Now we actually came above this area. That does not matter though. All I need to see is this back here mitigated. Okay, so on the 15-minute time frame, let's go to this here. On the 15-minute chart, very, very simple, guys. All I'm looking for is a shift, okay? So you can see back here, we had the high back here, break of structure, this became our external low. Same thing over here. Now, if you guys are new to SMC or you're confused about, market structure, then I did make a complete video on this that's going to help a lot. I'll link to it at the top of this video. But looking down here, this is our external low now. And the moment that we close below here, okay, this gives me a change of character. That right there was my short, okay? This closed below, confirmation of the change of character. This was my short through here on the retest. And again, I shared this short in real time with VIP members in Discord. Okay, so this isn't after the fact stuff. This isn't, just some YouTube personality making videos on what you should be doing. I'm actually in the trenches doing this stuff every single day with members. Okay, so going back here, guys, that's exactly what I'm looking for now. If we tap into this area back here, okay, so this imbalance that we have back here in this area, all I'm looking for is the market to fill this. Once we fill this, I'm dropping to a 15-minute time frame, possibly a 5-minute time frame, depending on how clean the price action is, and looking for that change of character. That is all I'm doing every single time. Okay, it's very, very simple. Again, it's not easy because you have to have patience. You have to have rules in place in order to avoid trading this stuff through here. And one of the ways that you do that, guys, is you have rules. You have a checklist in place of what you have to see, and then you have the willpower to follow that. Because willpower plus rules equals discipline. There's no discipline without rules, guys. Okay, period, the end. Okay, so I do not want to trade this down here. I have not traded this. Now, you have to ask yourself too, okay, what would be the target in this case? If, let's just say, assume that we get the market coming up here into this area, which so far today here on Friday, it looks like there's a pretty good chance, right? Maybe next week, maybe late this week, we'll see if we get it. If we get this though, right, what would be the logical target? Well, you can see that the range lows back here, let's go back to a 4-hour time frame. All these range lows back here are fair game, okay? Because again, this is a range bound market. So trade it as a range as long as it's a range. So these are the targets down here, right? These lows down here. So if I get the entry up here, it's still a big if, but if we get the move up here and the low time frame change of character, then my target is down here. Now, let's just do a hypothetical here real quick. And I'm going to come full circle here on this and show you why this matters in terms of having patience. So right now, the market has essentially been doing this here for the past couple weeks, okay? Very difficult to sit on your hands and do nothing, but I'm going to show you why in this case, and I've been telling members in Discord, I have not traded this at all through here. In fact, I've taken one trade this week so far, and that was profitable. Part of the reason for that is because markets have been choppy. But this right here, let's just assume that we get the entry up here in this area, okay? And let's assume that our stop loss is somewhere up here above these highs. Now, again, we don't know where this is going to be because it depends on what we get on the lower time frame up here, if we get it at all. But this right here, guys, would be about a 5R trade, meaning that your reward is 5 times your risk. Now, you have to ask yourself, if you're able to get in up here with a trade that becomes 5 times your risk, the reward is 5 times your risk, how long can you wait for that? Can you wait a week, right? Can you wait 2 weeks for that? Absolutely. Where else are you going to get 5 times your risk? Okay. In any other industry, right? It's not going to happen. So for me, when I'm looking at this here, I know the potential. Okay. I know the potential of this, and therefore I am willing to wait. I also know that if I'm trading this chop through here, then I'm just bleeding out my account. And then any short I get up here and any profit I get is just paying for the losses, the mistakes that I made through this area, guys. So it's very, very important to have rules in your trading because, again, willpower plus rules is going to equal discipline. There's no discipline without rules. Okay, so in a nutshell, guys, that's what I'm looking for right now. We do have this imbalance here still for the S&P 500. I want to see this mitigated. No guarantee that we do get it, but I want to see this area back here mitigated, followed by a low time frame change of character up here, okay, in order to look for shorts. Okay, stop loss will go above the high, targeting the lows down here. Again, we'll see if we get it. If we do though, then that could potentially be a 5R setup, maybe even higher, meaning that my reward is 5 times my risk. As always, I'll be talking through this with members in real time in Discord. And that's the beauty of being a VIP member. So if you want to check that out, see the link in the description of this video. You'll also get a free SMC strategy with that. Beyond that page, you're going to have a chance to enter Discord. If you don't want to, that's perfectly fine. So trade well today. I will talk to you again tomorrow in the SMC Outlook.